Hi, I'm Jennifer Clare of Home Cooking New York. We teach private cooking classes in people's home kitchens. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a perfect chocolate mousse. Perfect chocolate mousse starts with very good quality chocolate. So when you're buying chocolate in the supermarket, don't go to the baker's chocolate that your mom used to use for brownies. You want to get a good quality eating chocolate because chocolate mousse is primarily chocolate, so you want to have a quality of chocolate that you would eat raw. Just because you're baking with it doesn't mean it should be any lesser of a quality. So you're going to melt your bittersweet chocolate, about 5 ounces, and 2 tablespoons of butter over a double boiler. Chocolate has a very, very low burning point, so you can't put it into a pan and melt it. So you have to put it over simmering water. Since simmering water can only get to 212 degrees, that's not high enough to burn the chocolate. You're going to cook it until the chocolate and the butter are melted. Next step with our chocolate mousse, after we've melted the chocolate and the butter, is we need to separate our eggs. We separate our eggs so we can beat the egg whites till they triple in volume. That volume that the egg whites get is what we're going to need to fold into the chocolate to make it moussey. Moussey is nice and light and fluffy. You can't beat a whole egg so it triples in volume, so you need to remove the yolk so it gets nice and light. So we're going to separate our eggs. You're going to crack the egg just on the center, in the center on the side of the bowl, and you're going to break apart the shell, and you're basically going to toss the yolk back from shell to shell until the whites fall off in one clump. Okay, so our chocolate and our butter are perfectly melted, so we're going to remove it from our double boiler, and we're going to let this cool, because the chocolate needs to cool before we add our egg yolks, otherwise we would get scrambled eggs. Our chocolate is all melted and cooled, so now we're going to add in safely our yolks. Stir that up. And we're going to add a little bit of vanilla for flavor. About a tablespoon. Stir until it's smooth. We're going to whip our cream. We're going to start with 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. And we're going to beat it until it's almost beaten, and then we're going to sprinkle in a couple tablespoons of sugar. You get much more volume out of cream and also out of egg whites if you start with just that ingredient. The more things you add to it, flavorings or sugar or flour, the heavier it becomes, and it just doesn't get the lightness that you need. So it's starting to thicken up a bit. You can see that it holds its shape. So we're going to sprinkle the sugar in now. About 2 tablespoons. You'll notice with the whipped cream and also with the whites, you want to make sure you don't overbeat them. If you overbeat cream or egg whites, they get dry, and then you have a dry mousse. You want to have a nice, moist mousse. Moist mousse. So you're going to stir this into your chocolate mixture. You stir it very gently, and you're going to fold it by scraping up the chocolate into the whites, usually with a rubber spatula. It's the most gentle way of incorporating a heavy mixture with a light mixture. And by doing it this way, you keep as much of the air that you just beat into the cream intact. If you were just to stir it vigorously, you would knock all the air out. So we're going to set that aside. Now we need to clean our beaters because we have to have clean beaters. When you're beating egg whites, in order to triple their volume, which is what happens with egg whites, there can't be any water or any grease in here, which is why we separate out the yolks. I've got my clean beaters. Now the reason that you do the cream first, then have to wash the beaters, and then do the egg whites is the egg whites go in last. And when you beat egg whites, you pretty much have to use them within a couple of minutes. Otherwise, when you beat egg whites as they're sitting, some of the egg whites will fall out of their beaten state and create sort of an unbeaten egg whites at the bottom of the bowl. And that kind of viscous gooiness is not good for chocolate mousse. You want all of the egg whites to be in their beaten state. So we're going to start beating these, and when we get to their halfway point, when they're almost fully at volume, we'll sprinkle a little bit of cream of tartar or some salt. Sometimes people put a little lemon juice. You need to put a little bit of acid in here so they hold their shape. We'll also put a little bit of sugar in there as well. So it's time to check for soft peaks. When you're doing the beater, it starts to leave a trail. You basically just pull the beaters out, and if they make a nice little peak that's a bit wobbly, that's a stiff peak. Oh, that's a soft peak. We're going to sprinkle in just about a tablespoon of sugar. Beat for about 5 more seconds. Okay. And now we're going to do what's called lightening. You have a nice light foamy egg white mixture, and you have a heavy dark chocolate and cream mixture. And because they're different densities, it's going to be hard to combine them without knocking a lot of the air out of the egg whites. So you do what's called lightening. You take a little bit of the egg whites and you put them into your mousse, and you basically just stir it around. This is not folding. This is going to knock some of the air out, but it's just going to make this a much foamier mixture. So when you go to combine the egg whites and this, They're much a little closer in density, so they combine very nice and easily. So you're gonna pour your egg whites over your chocolate, and you're gonna fold again, just like you did with the cream, but it's gonna be a little bit easier now because the chocolate is already lightened. Okay, so that is your perfect chocolate mousse.